Good morning, students. Today's our topic is VBG Ramji Act 2025. So this act is successor of MG Narega Act. So after repealing the MG Narega Act, government has come up with this new act. So what is this act? Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Gramin. So which passed in this winter parliamentary session, and the act also notified after president has given assent. So before going on that, in India more than 20% population are below poverty line. So though various committees and statistics gives different number, but generally that number is about 20%. So to solve this one, most of the poverty present in India, it comes into rural areas. To solve this poverty, in 2005, UPA1 come up with a solution that we call as a MG Narega Act. So MG Narega Act. So MG Narega. So MG Narega, which passed in 2005. So this act specialization is which provide 100 days of work for each household to cover all over the India, so that we can say it is a right to work. So right to work for rural household for 100 days per year. So these act repealed and passed VBG Ramji Act. So what are all the major new provisions added in this act, and what are all the criticisms against this act? Those things we are going to see. The first one is, so this VBG Ramji Act, so it is basically not wage employment, it is asset creation and rural livelihood generation act. So earlier MG Narega Act is solely the whatever the works approved by the Grama Sabha that implemented. But these act, the Grama Sabha should align their work priorities with national priorities. For say PM Gati Shakti Yojana scheme is there. So which means for laying down the highways in India. So here the rural roads should connect with PM Gati Shakti Yojana roads, so that this is aligned rather than randomized work which was approved by Gram Sabha during the tenure of MG Narega. Here all the goals are aligned with national priorities. So here you can say that transforming the rural employment from wage based relief to asset based rural growth. So here not meant for giving simply wages whatever the work done. So that assets creation must be the solo criteria of the these new act. So assets means which generate continuous revenue. So continuous revenue. So earlier whatever the work they did under MG Narega, they might not generate any revenue. But here the asset must generate revenue so that the income grow in the rural areas. So it is related to while generating the assets. So the employment must be skill linked employment, and the asset must be an infrastructure creation, and it is related to rural enterprise, and it is also part of digital governance. So these are all the goals integrated. So skill linked employment and infrastructure creation and rural enterprise and digital governance together are part of this VBG Ramji Act 2025. So next one you can see major provisions of this act are employment guarantee. While MG Narega guaranteed 100 days of work for each household in every year. So these act provided 150 days of guaranteed work for year. Here it should be rural household. You should be very careful. It is not for each person. It is not for each person. It is for all the family members that we consider as a household. So employment provided within the 15 days of demand. So whenever Grama Sabha demanded, so within that 15 days, the employment should be provided according to this act. In case if government could not able to provide, they are entitled for unemployment allowance. This is a mandatory provision. So these except number of days, so same more or less provisions are present in MG Narega. Here the greatness is the work has increased from 100 days to 150 days. The next one is work structure reform. So earlier it is the Gram Sabha, it can create its own plan, it can decide what works to be taken up. But under this new act, all the works which are provided under this act are categorized into three types of works. That means Grama Sabha or government must provide work which fall under this three category. The first one is core rural infrastructure. So building the roads, irrigation, that is water irrigation related things, drainage system, rural warehouses, this is fall under the core rural infrastructure. So the village has to choose from this category or village growth assets such as cold storage, dairy units, fish ponds and solar farms. So these are all generating revenue. So both first category, second category, even third category, all this we call as assets because they are generating revenue. So skill linked employment. So the households can take up plumbing activity, electrical activity, machine operations or agri processing. So agri processing industries could be set up under this new act. These industries generate revenue. This revenue is used by villagers, that Grama Sabha. So this is how assets creation is the major aim of VBG Ramji Act 2025, not merely providing a wage employment in which whether asset is created or not created. So that is the major difference. So we can appreciate the efforts of the central government. So they realized money is going to waste if there is no assets and money flow in rural areas. So second one is wage structure. So under MG Narega, the wages are, so wages are tied MG Narega. So the worker participated in this MG Narega works, they receive the minimum wages equivalent of agricultural laborer. So those wages are very less when compared to industrial labor. But new act ensured that so minimum industrial wages of that particular state. So that means this new act wages are somewhat higher than the MG Narega wages. That you should remember. So productivity incentive for say plumbing work, electric work or machinery work or dairying work, any kind of skilled person, if they created any asset, this asset is generating the revenue for the village. His wages are higher than the unskilled person, semi-skilled person. That means here you can see all the people, do they receive same amount of wages? Means no. Skilled person wages are somewhat higher than the semi-skilled and unskilled person. So that means wage structure is completely differ when compared to MG Narega. This point you should remember. So next one is digital job card. So earlier so new act providing a job card for rural employment, which is Aadhaar linked digital job card. So here, if the worker participated in the activity, so his attendance is tracked by using the biometric or GPS enabled system. So GPS means it is the place where work is going on. The attendant must be there, so that whoever taking the money under MG Narega without presenting in the work location, that kind of corruption, illegal kind of money flow can be curtailed by using the new act. That is very important. So that real-time wage real-time wage tracking through DBT, direct benefit transfer, tracks the person who is present at the work location, whether really receiving the wages or not, can be tracked by using the DBT. So this is the greatness of this new act. So what about that asset first approach? Here it is not the wage for rural unemployment. It is not the wage for rural unemployment. So it is the wages given for the asset creation. That is the most important thing. So here every village in every year at least 5 income generating assets to be created. So you can imagine, so there are almost like 1 lakh above villages or panchayatis present in India. So if that means 5 lakh into 5 revenue generating villages means, so you can see, so Grama Swaraj, so Gram Swaraj can easily be achieved. So that means, so our central government fixed the target of, so developed nation by 2047. That means all the people per capita income should be higher. So now the regional based inequalities are there. So like urban area people are per capita income is higher, rural area people per capita income is lower. So if every year 5 income generating assets are created under this new act, the per capita income in rural areas obviously increases. So the assets, whatever the 5 minimum assets to be created in every year, which generate local employment, panchayati revenue, maintenance funds, whatever the public goods or public buildings, cold storages, drainages, everything to be maintained. So funds required for the local bodies must be generated by the villages itself by building the assets. So this is somewhat, there are lot of criticisms on this new act, but the approach is, financially making local bodies are self-sustaining. So that is very important. Making PRIs self-sustaining is the major aim by creating assets. Self-sustaining. So there may be some kind of criticism that we will see later. So next one is, you can see panchayatis enterprise model. So you know that core infrastructure like economic infrastructure, all the infrastructure are generally maintained by the Grama Sabha or Panchayat. All these funds are going to the Panchayat. So here Grama Panchayati is the owner which operate whatever the dairy units established by the workers, warehouses and agri processing centers through which money is generated. This money is used for workers payments and assets maintenance and village development. So here every time Finance Commission recommends grants and funds to the devolving from local bodies. So this is the only source of funds. No other sources available for the panchayatis or villages. So by following this panchayatis enterprise model, villages themselves they earn the money. They can spend on the village maintenance. And you should remember agricultural. So agri products are every year wasting due to lack of agri processing centers. First thing. Second thing is lack of cold storage, lack of proper roads or transportation to reach these perishable goods into the market. So by going this act, roads are coming, cold storages are coming, agri processing centers are coming, so that farmers income doubling. That is also one of the aim. So farm income doubling. So farm income doubling also one of the aim by 2047. So earlier they fixed the date like 2022, but we couldn't achieve. So now it is extended to 2047. That was the year of 100 years of independence. So this is aligned with the national goals. No, without giving money without generating any assets are completely useless. Okay, so now you can see convergence with other schemes. So here solar PM Kusum is a central government scheme which is running. So to establishment of solar panels or solar street light or solar water pumpings and etc. So that skilled people they work on plants setup, so energy generation, so the energy consumption or pressure on the grid or discoms completely cut off or reduced, so that money, the whatever the electricity required for the village they generate within the village, so that the money going out of the villages in the form of electricity bill can be reduced. So Jal Jeevan Mission, increasing the irrigational facilities, groundwater research. These are all the aims of Jal Jeevan Mission. So by building critical infrastructure in villages, so new water bodies bringing into life or digging up the new ponds, etc., fisheries, etc. So here also water research, canal digging and everything can be fulfilled so that irrigational facilities could be expanded in unirrigated areas. So FME, this is the food processing industries. It's a scheme. This VBG Ramji Act is integrated. So National Livestock Mission in the form of promoting dairying, so dairying and fishing in the villages through this act. So it could also converge. So they might ask you in your prelims, which of the following schemes are converged under recently passed VBG Ramji Act? Means these are all the schemes: PM Kusum solar component, Jal Jeevan Mission of irrigation facilities, so food processing schemes of PM FME, National Livestock Mission. So next one is, so skilled rural workforce. So here under this new act, the workers are divided into three categories. First one is unskilled people, semi-skilled people, skilled people. So I told you already, skilled people earn higher wages because whatever the assets they create, they generate more revenue for the villages. They generate more revenue for the villages. So now here, that means MG Narega is only for unskilled manual labor work. So manual labor work, whether they create asset or not. But here, by bringing the skilled people and semi-skilled people, they must create a revenue generating assets. So this is the major difference. So government provide free village level training. So semi-skilled people, they want like fully skills, or state governments, they establish ITI kind of centers in which skilled people are trained. So these skilled people working within the villages, so as part of assets created, or they might go to other places in search of employment, so that poverty, unemployment could be reduced in India. So skilled workers get higher wages. This already we had seen. So next one, so climate and sustainability focus. So whatever the assets created under this new act, 30% of the works must be related to water conservation, soil improvement, renewable energy, climate resilient agriculture. So four core areas are there. First one is water conservation, core infrastructure, livelihood related one, and weather-based assets. So weather-based assets. These are all the four pillars of VBG Ramji Act 2025. So 30% of works must and should in these four categories. That you should remember. So next one is independent audit and social accountability. So generally under MG Narega Acts, the works are approved by Grama Sabha, the works audited by the Grama Sabha itself. But here all the works created are audited by the third party. And not only that, so social audit, Grama Sabha could also do social audit twice in a year, so that real-time dashboard for every village. So here both third party and Grama Sabha are the stakeholders when it comes to inspection, auditing the inspection of the works and auditing of the funds. So that, so two-tier security is there. Two-tier security or auditing mechanism. So these are all the core features. Okay, these are all the core features you should remember when it comes to new act. So now we are going to compare. So MG Narega of 2005 with VBG Ramji Act of 2025. So first one you can see the nature of the scheme, it is wage employment guarantee. So wage guarantee act, right to employment, so right to wages. But the second one, the new act is asset linked employment and growth. So village economic growth through assets creation is the major aim. The second one is employment days. Here it provides 100 days for household. Here it increased it to 150 days for household. Here focus on poverty relief. Here focus on rural economic transformation with employment and revenue generation and skilled manpower generation and making village panchayatis as the entrepreneur at village level. So that is the most important thing. Type of work here, mostly manual labor. So machinery using were not allowed in MG Narega. So almost nil. But here, so infrastructure, enterprise and skilled jobs. So it is combined. Machinery also could be allowed if it is required asset creation. So there is no such exclusively for manual labor. So here machinery, skilled people both are involved. The next one is skill development. It is not the part. So here state governments mandatorily should establish skill training centers every village or else at least at block level so that rural youth or folks can be skilled. So that is one of the major transformation. So village level. So what kind of wages are there? Wages are tied to agriculture wages. Here minimum wages are tied to industrial labor. So digital system, job cards and DBT, Aadhaar linked GPS technology used for digital cards. So asset creation, here secondary objective. So revenue generating asset creation is secondary priority. So wages providing is the first priority. So assets are generally created by skilled person. Here unskilled person is the major focus in MG Narega. But here skilled person is the major focus, so that it is a primary objective. Asset creation is the primary objective in VBG Ramji Act. So second one is Panchayati's role. So here, so choosing the work and implementing the work is done by the Grama Sabha. Here local Grama Sabha act as a local enterprise and manager of the assets. So that is the difference. So revenue generation here, no. So whatever the work done or how much funds that central government is given, everything be wasted because no rupee generating another rupee. But here, so revenue generation is the primary focus. So that is the most crucial point. So second one is climate focus limited. Here climate focus, you can see almost 30% of the works are reserved for climate resilient works. So that climate focus is the very high. So audit system. So social audit here, social, financial, asset audit, all type of things are audited here. So what we can say is, so this might be suitable to reduce the poverty. Reduce the poverty. So poverty is generally present in illiterate people, unskilled people. But in 21st century, we are moving into the, so almost 2 decades gone over, and the third decade we are present in the 21st century. We need a futuristic reforms. Futuristic reforms where villages are self-financing agencies rather than depending on the state level or central level for the funds. So if villages are succeeded in every year 5 assets got created which generate revenue within the 25 years, every village became a growth engine in India. So this is the foreseal. So the vision making people, they aspire for. So there is a saying like, we cannot give you a fish, we can give you a training how to catch the fish. So these new act absolutely doing the same thing. So lack of funds, dependency on the state level and central level made this third tier redundant, okay, obsolete. So now they are trying to revive the vision of the Gandhi Gram Swaraj. So little republic vision, they are trying to revive through with new act. So what are all the criticism on this act? So criticism on this act, we can say, first one, dilution of employment guarantee principle. So here, so earlier one is right based wage guarantee law, but right now is asset productivity and skill performance linked act, it is one. So here earlier, if no work is provided in a village after rising the demand, so the villagers have right to go to the court So now here rights are not given. Understand? So now it became a welfare oriented scheme by saying central sector scheme, in which 60% only government, central government gives, rest of the 40% are borne by the states. So it make into another scheme. So from rights based to asset productivity and skill performance scheme they made rather than a rights. So now you can see here by saying asset creation, classifying the workforce into skilled, unskilled, semi-skilled. So these people, illiterate, elderly, unskilled workers may be excluded from the 150 days work. So generally the poverty is very high among these category. So but this is act is for specifying asset creation, lack of any monetization skills here, only they can do manual labor. So these people might be excluded for the from this implementation of act. So now critics argued that right to employment is turned into a conditional employment. So this is the first severe criticism on this new act. The second one is threat to vulnerable rural workers. So here earlier equal pay paid for every worker. Now here skilled people have one different wage, unskilled people have one different wages, and semi-skilled people have one different wages. So that this kind of differentiated wages which causes vulnerable people receive less amount. So that is the another criticism you should remember. So it might exclude women, it hurt the tribal and landless people, and it penalize slow and physically weak workers because they couldn't create any assets. So next one is risk of panchayatis level corruption. So panchayatis by making as a manager of assets. So panchayatis now run enterprises, control the assets, handle the revenues. So these increases emerging of new elite class, traditional elite class, they had control over village common resources. Now again they come into picture. So the contractor and these elite nexus may lead to the manipulation of the works revenue and etc. So political favoritism, the revenue, village level revenue might be go to the ruling party persons. So it dilute the spirit of this act. So local governments are not trained for corporate entities. So auditing should be done, the bookkeeping should be done, filing all the revenue related matters at the central government. All these things were not trained for the local government. So this is the high level corruption may breed at village level wherever money flow increases. So that should be carefully managed. So assets focus may reduce employment. So here, so MG Narega with demand, there is no restrictions on the number of days, though it is 100. So, but here, so maximum labor days for each state, whatever the state demanding number of working days for the laborer, so those much sanctioned. But here, economic efficiency, they are introduced quotas for each state. Every rupee where they are spending, that tracking is very high. So that led to the machines replacing the workers, fewer days of work, prioritizing profits over employment. So contradicts the spirit of rural safety net. So this is how machines come into being to generate the profits. So the people's generally sidelined so that employment goal is not fulfilling. So this is the another criticism. The next one is fiscal burden. So here state governments has to establish training center for skilled workforce, asset auditing technology and training, digital infrastructure, whatever the GPS is required for attendance, all these things, enterprise management for the village panchayatis, all these things requires a lot of funds. So lot of funds. So not only that, the work is allocated by higher levels per se. So center decide what works to be given for every state. So states decide what works to be given for the districts. Districts decides what works to be given for the block level, and blocks decides what works to be given for every village. So now this work is top down approach. In MG Narega, top-down approach. MG Narega work is decided at the Grama Sabha. So that is the bottom-up approach. So now here you can see, so state government expenditure obviously increase because it is a top-down approach. Bureaucratic complexities are there. Every level, the officers may put some queries and red tapes for allocation of the work. So monitoring costs, every official at higher stages monitor the each one and they may not release the funds. This is also a problem. Poor states may struggle to implement this scheme because already they need a further staff. Okay, by going this top down approach, they need more manpower, more recruitments to be done. Lack of sufficient manpower. So this approach, top down approach, is very difficult. So next one you can see. So unequal regional outcomes. Rich states, they have better skilled people, they have better panchayatis, market access through roads and etc. They will benefit more. So poor states fail to create revenue generation assets, so became dependent again on the central for the grants. They want new people to be hired, skill center to be hired. All this required money, and again they look for the center to support them in the form of grants. So this can increase regional inequalities. The better states will implement better way. Poor states again they lag into this. This is how inequality or regional imbalances increases between the states. So this is the another criticism. So weakening of self-targeting mechanism. So MG Narega attracted only those willing to do hard manual labor. So only those willing to do hard manual labor. But VBG Ramji offers skilled and high paid work. So that here, if these people opted these works, their wages in the market double or triple. So double or triple. So again, one way we are fixing the issue, another issue will arise. Understand? So the person who are getting employment in the companies, because he is skilled, he is diverted towards the village works, so that their salaries will be higher, so that manpower shortage will occur. So non-poor captures more benefits, middleman recruitment of the skilled person that became the new avenue, distortion of the welfare targeting. So those destitute person, poor person, they may not get sufficient wages because it requires a skilled and high paid labor. So next one is digital exclusion. So it is GPS based, biometric attendance it takes and Aadhaar linked. So lack of due to digital infrastructure at village level, authentication failures, payment dilation, and exclusion of migrants, elderly and tribal people. So because they must present at the workplace to give the thumb impression, and GPS also tracks him where he is actually present. So whoever migrated out of that area, so whoever elderly people who cannot move out of the home, and those tribal people, so those who cannot overcome the distance or lack of digital technologies, all these people are excluded from the payments. So digital governance not equal to universal inclusion because of so uneven presence of digital infrastructure in India. So this you should remember. So next one is conflict between welfare and business. So wherever revenue generating, profit generating, that we call as a business. So wherever without expecting any return, if we provide some money, that we call as a welfare. So now new act, it became a business rather than welfare. So that you should remember. So next one is weak legal protection compared to MG Narega. MG Narega guaranteed work as a legal right. He can move to the court. So fixed compensation for the delays. But here VBG Gramji employment linked to the project approval. If government delayed for the approval, they could not take up the work. That is the biggest problem. Performance based wages. Some person build a asset which is generating more revenue. He will receive more wages, more incentives. So it is not equal wages for all the people. Asset viability conditions. So how much it is generating, how many years its durability is there. So many conditions are tied to the asset viability. So this weakens the enforceability of this new act. So these are all the criticisms. So some of the states, fiscal burden. So states earlier under MG Narega, they contribute only 10% of the funds. So now the center 60 to 40 ratio, like all other centrally sponsored scheme. So which is 60% center gives, 40% states gives. So due to states unable to arrange this 40% of work, they may not sanction the projects. So they may not sanction the projects, which causes failure of this act implementation in future. So some of the states which are high population, low revenue states, they may not opt or afford to implement this scheme. So but revenue surplus states, they might be benefited from this act. So labor market, so those who have less skilled or unskilled or manual labor is higher, they could not able to properly implement this act. Those states who have high skilled, they might prosper high. So asset creation, some states are lagging, some states are very highly assets creation. So these kind of unevenness between the states to be rectified. So this is all about the various provisions. What are all the differences between MG Narega and VBG Ramji Act, and fiscal consideration or impact on the federalism in India through this new act. So tomorrow I will come up with new topic. Thank you.